You're listening to the LouddMouth Radio Network. Yo, happy Pride Month. It's June, guys. And I know everybody ain't probably celebrating Pride, and that's okay. I think that it's a reflective moment for many people of all walks of life to have a moment of rainbow. No, I'm just kidding. Oh man, I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. I just kind of had to just throw that in there. But guys, all seriousness, it's sunny. It's Monday, and we're gonna keep it light today. It's full moons going on. People are weirding out. It's a lot happening. The energies and it's a lot of energy kind of floating around. If you haven't noticed it, if you haven't felt some of the exhaustion of the full moon too, I felt that the other night. It's amazing how things can happen in the atmosphere, and it will affect you. And if you're not in tune with it, you may not really know what's happening or recognize what it is. But sure enough, I've gotten to the point where I can pretty much make a determination that it's a full moon or it's coming. And that can be a mixture of energy of how I'm feeling, as well as how the energy of people's attitudes and temperaments. Guys, I'm not playing this. It's a real thing, seriously. But I will say, I think Friday I was absolutely exhausted and did not recognize that the full moon was coming upon us until I truly recognized the next day. I said, you know what? It's got to be a full moon. And sure enough, it's big, bold, and pretty right now. So what I wanted to touch on, ironically, I'm just going to kind of use a play of words. With it being Pride Month, I'm sure there's, if you didn't know that, you're bound to see something that's making reflection of it. But ironically, I've been working diligently these past few weeks, and we took a little bit of a break for a skip, as we say, a skip of a week, and preparing for new content, which I'm so excited about this week. There's so much that's coming, that's happening. And I just have not had even time to make announcements, to even prepare you. So it's just going to roll out. That's just how it goes. Sorry, that's just what it's going to be. But I will tell you that this is going to be a tremendous time for LouddMouth Radio Network and LouddMouth.com and LouddMouth Inspired Brand, everything. Okay. And, it's a time where I just feel it's important to take pride in your work, whatever it looks like, whatever it is, whatever is a passion of yours, whatever you do that is yours, that you know that is a part of your craft or a part of your existence, or something that you put effort and energy to. Take pride in it. So I said I was going to do a play on words today, right? And really and truly, I'm spinning it in a different way. But today's a great day to start off with this Monday in the month of June in 2023, talking about taking pride in your work. Y'all, it's Sunday. No, it's not. It's not Sunday. It's Monday. But y'all know what time it is. It's Sunday's Monday Motivation. Let's go. You Need Tent 2, located at 3118 Emory Street Northwest in Unit B in Covington, Georgia, is dedicated to delivering high-quality tent workmanship and excellent customer service. You Need Tent 2 has a variety of tent shade options and films ready to be installed with a lifetime manufacturer's warranty. So stop by today. You Need Tent 2 is the go-to destination for professional window and tinting services. Don't forget to visit us online at youneedtent2.com, and don't forget to tell them that LouddMouth Radio sent you. No matter the time or the season, we're open and available 24/7. Shouldn't your dealership be too? Carumba.com, the convenient online used vehicle marketplace. Register your independent dealership now. Okay, now that we got through that first little realm of conversation, I think it's time for us to kind of just get into the nitty-gritty of things. Yo, how many times have you had opportunity to do something? and you weren't sure if you wanted to do it or if you wanted to partake in it. It could be anything. It could be a job. It could be a opportunity that was posed to you, maybe a business proposition, something. And you got excited about it, and you could see some of the things, and then as it started to marinate in your spirit, you're like, I don't, maybe that's not what I need to do or partake in. And if you haven't had that instance, that's okay. I'm not saying that you had to, but let's just say that you've been in that space before. And I know I have. And you had time to reflect on it and recognize that maybe this may not be something that's for you to do. And you make a decision to either like decline, step back, withdraw, maybe redirect. And you know what, guys, when I tell you, it takes a lot of courage to do that. Because one of the things that I've known to be very important, as living in a world today, as being an entrepreneur, or even in your workplace, taking on projects or taking on responsibilities, and sometimes there's essences of that aspect of responsibility that does not necessarily light you up or make you feel the warm and fuzziness of it. And so you know in the back of your mind that you might end up half-assing it. Or you may feel like maybe it's more than what you're willing to do, or maybe it's something that does not hold your attention enough to where you don't need to get involved. Let me tell you something. I think it's more important to pass up or pass through on things sometimes than to go into it and half-ass it. Sometimes people take on things or get involved in stuff because they feel like they should, or their ego drives them, or they feel like, oh, I've done this before, or I've had some experience, and, they're coming to me about this, or I should, take part in it because of this. When you're starting to justify a lot of the reasons why, there could be an indication that maybe you shouldn't touch it. And why I say that is because it's not fair to sometimes people, groups, organizations, community. Like, there's so many people that may be on the other side of the receiving end of whatever it is that you may decide to get involved at. And if you don't step into it or step to it and really do 100% of what it is, or more than that 100%, we say we can go 1,000%, but you get my point. If you're not going to fully give the best of yourself, then don't do it. Because this is the deal. If you can't take pride in what your part is, what your involvement is, if you can't truly and undoubtedly stand behind it and know without a shadow of a doubt that is going to be fulfilled, then maybe you should not partake. Now, let's just say you do. And maybe you get deep into it and you realize somewhere in the middle of it, or towards the end of it, or in the midst of it, that maybe there's a shortcoming here, or maybe there's something here I didn't consider. And you feel it, it's that small inclination, those little thoughts, those little emotions that kind of twinkle around you, and it makes you feel like, and then you feel kind of caught, because you've either obligated yourself, you committed to somebody, you've committed to a cause, you've committed to something, and you now got your part in it. Especially, God forbid, you're a major part of it. So now you're like, okay, I got to see it through. And if those situations do happen, instead of bailing on it, do your best to take pride in whatever it is. Really, sometimes you got to suck it up. But I'm going to tell you this, if you can avoid it and just not screw it up, then do it. I'd rather see you withdraw from something because you find that you're not going to make the right impact in whatever it is. Right. And sometimes you might even get overwhelmed. You might have gotten involved and then got deep down inside of it and realized, man, this is maybe more than what I could really do. Or I'm not showing up enough. Or maybe you got something personal going on that's not going to allow you to be your best self. Because the one thing you don't want to do is to do things, especially when other people are dependent on it, or there's an outcome that results to some type of magnitude that you're supposed to reach, and it just fails horribly, or it becomes haphazard, or it's flawed because you didn't commit. I think that it takes way more courage sometimes to recognize that sometimes things are better without you involved in it, if you're not going to be fully committed, if you're not going to give your best self, if you're not going to make it just a stupendous situation. Now, I'm not saying that sometimes there's parts of it that you might fall short on. And even in that case, because I know there's some things that I've had my hands in and I wanted a better outcome. And so maybe I might swing back around to it, or I may, say, look, I feel like I could have did more in this, or if you have something maybe you're not in total control over, but you just try to make sure that where you are, you try to do as much as you can. And if there's not a room or allowance for you to sometimes make corrections, or sometimes there's conflict. I know that dealing with people is not unheard of to run into conflict. And so sometimes conflict can cause a disruption, and the conflict can be an attitude or somebody's way about doing things, which a lot of times the ego, it gets in the way. And so it could make a catastrophe out of something, or it could challenge something, or it could also create another obstacle to where it might bind your hand in it, and you don't have full control over it. So sometimes you have to figure out how to maneuver in a situation like that. I know I've had something recently myself where I've had to make some adjustments because I made a decision to involve another person in something that I was doing. And with full intention, I knew fully why I wanted to, do something in regards to activity with this individual, and had all good means with it. But the one thing that you got to realize is that even in your space, even within your own realm, it does not always mean that the other person is going to be receptive the same, or they're not going to necessarily act the way you want them to act in the fullness of it, And in that, you have to decide, how are you going to handle that, right? So it's not uncommon in the workplace, in relationships and friendships and business circumstances, you're bound to have some type of, situations where things may not always add up, or they may not always be easy breezy. And in that, I just think it's important you do your best, and you try to find where you can fit in your best part in it, right? And try to see it through. I know for me, I've slowed down a lot on different aspects of things, that if I can't give it my fullness, I've sidelined it. Projects of my own, dealing with, different organizations, sometimes even on the social scenes, slowing down in that area, and knowing that it's okay. Because even in the friendship space, sometimes you're not in a space where you can fully show up as a friend in the way that you may want to. And you have to know that at the end of it, it's best to do the things necessary and give yourself the honest level first. You have to be honest with yourself first. And then whomever else that may be in play in the situation, or who could be affected by it, sometimes you may just need to communicate, right now I'm not my best self. I may not give a full explanation. You may feel comfortable to. You may be still trying to figure out why you're in that space. And that's okay too. I still think that takes courage to recognize that, and to speak on it, and say, look, maybe I need to redirect myself here, or just take a step back and a time out, and realign. But at the end of the day, it's so important to recognize how important it is to be a sound person, and make sure measurably you're doing things adequately as best you can. And in that, it gives you a whole nother level of respect, I feel, a lot of times. Even if the person might be upset with you at the time, you may have made some decisions that they weren't even aware of that salvaged a situation or made circumstances better. Because if you could have, if you would have walked down the path in which maybe they were walking, it wouldn't have been nice. Right? Guys, there's just so many things that can occur in the midst of interacting and dealing with people. And then when you're doing something yourself, and wanting it to be at the level in which you're putting your energy to, you want it to show up good. You want it to be, as perfect in the specific sense that you can make it. And if you can't give it everything that you got, make some decisions on how to best make it not affect so many other people if possible. I know that is not always the case because there's a lot of different things that can happen and for a lot of different reasons. But I do believe that in your heart of heart, if you have a level of sincerity in regards to whatever, that sometimes the universe will be kind enough to allow you to have grace or favor in regards to situations. And that in itself may give you another opportunity to come back at it at a later time, or you may manage to pull it together, and I'm not saying it may not be a struggle, but at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're taking true pride in it and owning it and fully knowing that at the end result, you're doing what you started out or intended it to be. And you try to see it all the way through. Because I'm going to tell you something. What I've come to see a lot more than I hate to admit is that we've become a lot of a mixture of society where people don't like to finish things, or they don't do things, or they just don't commit to the level of seeing it through. And if you don't believe me, just start taking note and notice of people around you. And so many dynamics at play. I think a lot of people talking about the workforce and how there's so many jobs and people saying that they're looking for work, or people don't want to work, or, that whole subjective conversation has become a batter of opinions. And because of that, you got one side that's justifying their reasons, their thoughts, and their aspects as to why they're like, no. Then you have the other side that's like, well, there's jobs available. Get one, find something, do something. So in the middle, there's this fine line that people that are in need of products and services and things of that nature, they're not really thinking or wondering whether or not you want to work or whether or not you care if somebody else works. They want what they want. So sometimes, we have to look beyond ourselves. And in cases like that, it really allows you to show strength and growth, because a lot of times it's ego that underlines so much in our lives and we don't know it. So to be able to have a selfless thought process in regards to things at times like that, it does make it for consideration. Just sometimes, you just want to be considerate enough to think about your decision and how it will affect somebody else. I must admit for myself, I've had to kind of turn my chin and allow a couple blows to hit up underneath it, and do that because I could easily have said or done so many other things. But at the end of the day, how am I affecting other people that maybe is a direct result of my activity or my involvement? And so sometimes it has to be a bigger picture. And sometimes there's bigger things at play than your ego. So at the end of the day, I said I was going to keep this light. I ain't fussing or nothing like that, but I am thinking about some things that I feel that, it could be a real conversation for us to have, because there's so many of us that are doing things that involve other people. And because we're doing things that involve other people, it's called Earth. If we could be a little more considerate, a little more mindful, and take account for things, I think that our world would be a lot brighter, a lot more colorful, and not as painful. I think that we can make life a little bit easier for one another if we can soften up our stances sometimes. Sometimes it's not always about what we want and how we want it, right? So guys, this is a quick one. And I hope that you're enjoying your Monday. I hope that, you're enjoying the weather. It's been a little bit crazy. We don't know what direction. I'm not complaining because we have not gotten full on blast heat out here in Southern Cal like we normally would. And we've had some temperamental weather. So wherever you are today, I hope that you're having a fantastic day and that your Monday is starting off the way you want and have intended it to be. And I want to tell y'all, look forward to some special announcements this week. I have been diligently working in the LouddMouth studio space, which I will share some more insight about that as the week continues. Just know that I have a number of entrepreneurs that are coming to the airwaves to share so many good products and services. And I'm super excited about what that means for us as a network, what that means for us as a brand. And, LouddMouth is just always been about getting the word out about small business and empowering, inspiring, and entertaining. So, guys, we're going to give you every bit of all of that. So make sure you just stay tuned with us and check us out because we're coming full force. The month of June is a great time, guys. Enjoy your day. Until later. You're listening to the LouddMouth Radio Network. This episode is sponsored by LouddMouth.com, the #1 small business online network. We're putting the word out about small business. Put your business on the referral network online that wants to put the word out about you. 30.7 million small businesses in the U.S., creating 1.5 million jobs annually. Small business accounts for 64% of new job creation in the U.S. There's strength in numbers. No matter what we face, know that there's strength in us. Because of you, we're able, we're capable, we're resilient, and we are available because we are small business. And together, we're the economy. You're listening to the LouddMouth Radio Network.